Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I am interviewing leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week, every Monday and Thursday. In today's show, I am delighted to speak with Janet Johnson. Janet, you have an incredible personal success story about your body weight. During your teens, you really started gaining weight until at some point in your life you reached 23 stone, which is 146 kilograms. Then one day a child's innocent comment became the catalyst for you to start a complete transformational weight loss journey in your life, managing to lose 13.5 stone, that's 86 kilograms, and keeping them off for the last 6 years now. Your passion now is to inspire and help others achieve success on their weight loss journey too. And Janet, welcome to Personal Development Mastery. I'm thrilled to be speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I hope that perhaps my story can help inspire and motivate others. You never know.
I'm sure it will, and it is something that it is very relatable to many people, and I'm sure you know that better than me, that there are many people who have consistent problems with their weight.
Absolutely.
Shall we start with your journey? So I want you to take us back before that moment when you decided that that's it and I'm going to do something about it. So describe to me what happened, how was your life, how you were feeling where you were a size 30, as you say.
Yeah. So the thing I suppose through my teens, you'd say that I was pretty average weight, maybe slightly cuddlier than normal. But I became very ambitious when I was in sort of like 19, 20, and I got a really good job, and I was managing a large team of people for a big car manufacturer. And I was working all the hours God sends, and I wasn't stopping for lunch. I had a vending machine at the end of my desk, and literally just the bad habits kicked in, and the weight just kept going up. But it was quite easy to ignore, because at that stage, you see it going up and your family worry about you, and they mention it, and then you become very defensive and you're just like, no, I'm fine. And it's one of those things that I then basically yo-yoed my way up the scales. So it was literally went on just out of really poor eating habits. And, but then it's really strange. You do tell yourself that you are happy, because you have to, because if you admit to yourself that you're not, and you're really honest, then you fall apart. So I tried every diet going. I mean, you don't get to a size 30 without having tried every single diet. And what would happen, as normal, I would lose some weight. And of course, diets require willpower. So I would maintain, have a bit of willpower, and I'd lose some weight. And then, as always happens, if you rely on willpower alone, it begins to dissipate. And of course, then something happens and you just go, that's it, I can't do this. Diets don't work for me. I can't do it. And you tell yourself all of these things. And of course, the weight, then anything you've lost goes back on, and you go back up the scales. And that really is what happened to me. And
when did you start feeling that, or starting to stop trying to convince yourself that you are happy? Because surely there must have been a point when you started feeling differently, like this is becoming a problem. I can only imagine the limitations that you might have had in your everyday life.
It's true. You bury your head, and so you're telling people externally that you're happy. You know inside you're not, because, you know, I mean, there are physical things, you know, and people listening to this, if they've ever had a weight issue, will recognize these sorts of pains where your legs rub together so much that they are so painful and maybe even bleed, you know. Or when I used to sit down in a chair, if I would go into, like, say, to meet friends, into a cafe or something, and the seat would have arms, sometimes I wouldn't fit, or the fat would seep through the sides of the arms, so making it so much more obvious. But there would just, you know, and I would get tired so easily. I had a young son, and I wasn't, you know, every time he wanted me to play, I would make excuses, or, you know, there are a lot of actual pains, not least, you know, clothes not looking very nice. And you actually just feel, when you do have those honest moments, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable to yourself, that's when I would discover, you know, well, I knew how unhappy I was. But what the real catalyst was, it just felt like every time I went to go and lose weight, something would stop me. And I'd got this belief, well, you know, I'm just always going to be big. My mother, you know, in kind of way of trying to placate me, would say, well, don't worry, you're big boned, you were never designed to be, you know, a size 8 or something. And but actually it's just not true. So one day I was married, and I had my son Joseph was at nursery. And you know, Joseph, he loved me regardless of my size, and at that age, when they're in nursery, they don't see things like that, they don't worry about things like that necessarily. But one day he came home from nursery and he was really upset, and I asked him what was wrong, and his little friend had said to him that my bottom was the size of a planet. And Joseph really took this to heart. This really upset him, because, you know, children are protective about their mothers, and to hear somebody say that upset him. And so, you know, after I'd comforted him over it, something just really hit me, and I thought, okay, so this little boy, it was a lovely little boy that said it, he wasn't saying it to be mean. He was just saying what he saw. He was just telling the truth, because, to be fair, it was.
That's what children do. Yeah. Just say the truth, you know, unfiltered. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was true. But it occurred to me that if I didn't feel like I could lose weight for me, well, then surely I had to do it for my son, because in years to come, it might not be an innocent remark. It could turn into bullying.
Yeah.
And I had the power within me to do something about it. And I had to realize that. And I had to realize that actually it was nothing to do with food, my issues. My issues were much, you know, no diet was going to help. It had to change, you know, up here in my head and then here in my heart. And that's where the big change happened. And so that was really the catalyst. That was it. That, you know, your mum's bottom is the size of a planet remark, you know, it was what it took.
That moment, and your motivation changed from yourself to your son and what would happen. I will ask you in a moment about your, you know, you call it your discovery, about what happened that helped you along the journey. Tell me, did you have any health concerns at all before you started all that?
Yes, actually. I was diagnosed with a condition called sphincter of Oddi dysfunction. And it's an abdominal condition, and it feels a bit like gallstones. And whilst certainly at the time it wasn't very well known, but they thought that maybe weight could make it worse. So you know, and actually it turned out to be true, because weight loss has helped it. But apart from that, just the normal aching of the knees and, creaking and sounding more like a 70-year-old going up the stairs than the 20-something that I was.
I suppose because that happens slightly gradually, you don't pay attention to it so much in a way. So then you started a journey with a very impressive results, and you talk about the discovery during your journey, and you already mentioned that it was not about food and diets, but about the way you think. So can you elaborate on this for me?
Yeah, when you go on a diet, it's all about the food. And, on a conventional diet. And it just seemed to me that the food actually wasn't the issue. It was my relationship with food and the habits that I had. And when I talk about the habits, I mean, for example, knowing that I'm not hungry and yet reaching into the cupboard to grab something to eat. Needlessly, clearly fulfilling something inside me that wasn't to do with hunger. Mm-hmm. And I think that it was at that stage that I realized that I needed something different. If I was going to do this properly, I couldn't do conventional diets. And so in fact, I'd had a book by Paul McKenna, the hypnotherapist. And I had a book actually sitting in the house for a couple of years and just, saw it but didn't do anything about it, called I Can Make You Thin. And I read this book. And to be honest, that is the biggest thing that's been the change for me. And of course, I've learned a lot on that journey. And so it's everything that I discovered through that. And it really is based on not the food. Everybody knows, the difference between what's really healthy food and what's really unhealthy food. Of course, we all know that. But it's actually coming at this with a very different mindset and recognizing that to lose weight, if we change our mindset, then the weight loss will just naturally follow. And so instead of obsessing about the weight and obsessing about the scales and all of that, I just changed what was going on up here. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially it.
Brings to mind what you say about obsessing about the weight. Again, some obsession that some methods have. I'm not an expert, but I know that the more people obsess about the calories, then that really doesn't produce the effect that they want. And in a way, calories also is incomplete measurement. Yes, obviously the equation calories in, calories out, yes, in the end it plays a role, but just saying 100 calories or 1,000 calories on its own is incomplete. It's like saying 10 miles. So what is it, 10 miles on a uphill in the mountain or 10 miles on the highway? It's completely different. Both of them are 10 miles, but it's not the same, is it?
That's true. Yeah. I think that when it comes, if you've got essentially two different types of people and weight loss methods, I suppose, that I think. If you are somebody that doesn't have an actual issue with food, doesn't have, habit issues or relationship issues with food, and you are a healthy weight, but you just want to lose a few extra pounds in order to get into an outfit, then actually calorie counting as a method, as a short-term method of losing weight is actually a really effective thing, because we do know that in order to lose weight, you need to essentially, yes, there's lots of different aspects to it, but if we were to simplify it, you need to take in less calories than you burn. And so if you're somebody like that, then it requires short-term willpower and you can get through it. When you're talking about somebody like me and who I was, you're talking about somebody that has tried every diet going, and counting calories Well, whatever you do has to be sustainable for life. If you want a lifelong change, you have to do something that you can sustain for life. Yeah. And to me, constantly thinking about food, counting, worrying about points, about sins, or all the different myriad of different diets out there, it actually made me think about food more rather than less. Because I was always thinking, oh, right, okay, so I've just had this, and now because I've had that, I can't have this later. When you strip all of that away and you take it back down to the very basics of your basic habits, actually, it's so much easier. And the thing that people are really always surprised about is actually how easy weight loss is once you've sorted out what goes on up here. So what I did, I followed 4 very simple, I suppose you'd say rules.
Principles, yeah.
Principles. I call them the standards for success. Okay. And they are, the first one is to eat when you're hungry. And what so often happens is either one way or another, either people eat because they think it's the right time of day to. They haven't considered actually whether they're hungry or not. It's just the time of day they eat, or they come in from work and they always just go to the cupboard and they get something. So you've got that type. Also on the flip side, you've got times when actually you're not genuinely hungry, but you are eating maybe to fulfill an emotion, maybe boredom, maybe stress, maybe upset, a myriad of different things. And so the first thing for me was to remember to always eat when I'm hungry. By doing that and by really listening to my body, it allowed me to a freedom that I hadn't really experienced before. It always felt like when I was on a diet, it was almost like eating was a matter of willpower, like I had to be careful whether to eat. Mm-hmm. But when I did this, it was like, okay, hold on. Am I hungry? Yes, actually, I am genuinely hungry. Okay, let's eat. And there's no guilt then. So you take away any concern. The first rule is basically ticked. And then the next one is to genuinely eat what you really want. And people are really confused about this when I explain this. Because they go, well, if I eat what I want, I'm going to eat chocolate cake all day, but or ice cream or whatever. But actually, the truth is, when we really think about what we really want to eat, and we give ourselves that freedom to speak to our mind and to really think, you go, actually, our bodies do want a healthy, balanced diet. It's our own interpretation of the fact that something is naughty or forbidden. And you know what forbidden things are. They become infinitely more desirable. And so when you give yourself the freedom to actually eat what you genuinely want to eat, over time, actually you start to make healthier choices. Mm-hmm. The third rule is to eat really slowly, really mindfully, really consciously thinking about every mouthful, really enjoying every single mouthful and stretching out that enjoyment. As somebody that's been very overweight, and my experience of helping other people is that overweight people tend to eat very fast. Mm-hmm. And they are eating so quickly that they're not hearing their fullness signal. Mm. And even if they do, they haven't finished enjoying it yet. So they carry on and they go past, and then it's like, oh, that was too much, and they open the button on their jeans. Whereas in fact, I suggest something that I call the MasterChef technique. Mm-hmm. And have you ever watched the TV show MasterChef?
Yes.
Yes. So the judges that are on there, they taste the food and they really savor it, and they tell the viewer all the flavors and the textures and the smells and all the development of the flavors that come out. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so what I do is that I have a little role play in my head, and it makes food taste really good. But this is where you take a mouthful and you really savor it, and you become a master chef judge of your own food, and you go through it. And what this does is that it first of all makes your eating slow down, but it makes you really appreciate and enjoy food so much more. And because you're slowing down, it's stretching out that enjoyment, it gives you the opportunity to hear that fullness signal. And when you've heard that fullness signal, then you can go, okay, the fourth rule is stop eating. You know, when you're full, stop. And of course, because you stretch out the enjoyment, you don't feel like you're being, you know, like you're not missing out like you would if you eat really, really quickly. Yeah. So, you know, the principle is that if you do this, then you'll actually just take in less calories anyway, just by, you know, as a side effect. And that's how you lose weight. And then the fifth, and possibly the most important, is to just keep going. To keep the mindset that there was never a journey that didn't have its ups and downs.
Of course.
But you don't give up when, you know, like a rock climber, when he's aiming to get to the top of the mountain, he will have to go down ravines. He will have to navigate around challenges and obstacles. But if every time he reaches a ravine and he turns around, well, he'll never reach the summit. But we understand that when it comes to, you know, taking a journey in another way, you know, going from A to B, putting your sat nav in, and there's a diversion of the road ahead, and you just divert around it because you want to get to your destination. But when it comes to weight loss, people forget that. And I think that the key to just keep going is one of the most important, and was a big mindset change for me.
Do you want to tell me how did you manage, because I can only imagine there were some adversities or difficulties or times that you probably slept or wanted to sleep. So how did you get over those things? How did you manage to get through them?
I did it by believing that I was a naturally slim person. I was very clear to every single day, I would visualize myself as a size 8 woman. I would close my eyes and I would visualize that body, what it would look like, and how it would feel. When I would touch my body, how would that feel on my stomach for it to go straight down? And I would really make this alive in my mind and make me believe that this was true, already true, and that I was already a naturally slim person. And here's the key. Naturally slim people don't fall off a wagon because they're not on one in the first place. This is just life. And so I didn't fall off anything. I didn't have bad days, because actually what I had were days that a naturally slim person would have. So yes, okay, I would go out for meals with friends, and yes, I would have a dessert, and yeah, okay, so maybe I did eat past my hunger. But guess what? Naturally slim people do as well. But what they don't do is they don't go, well, I've just eaten that cheesecake. Well, that's it. Let's, you know, put 3 more in, because that, you know, I used to be that person that, you know, if I'm not allowed biscuits and I would have 2 biscuits, I'd go, oh, I feel terrible about myself now. I'll just eat the rest of the biscuits, you know, and so you change that mindset. If you're a naturally slim person and you believe it, and every day you tell yourself and you think like a naturally slim person, you visualize yourself, how you're going to feel, how you're going to think, how you're going to react to people. It's these inner things that are real key. Like I say, if you're not on a wagon, you can't fall off. You're just a naturally slim person.
Absolutely. And the key word in what you said, and you mentioned it earlier as well, is the word belief, which really what we believe we are or we become if we're not that. So it's the foundation, whatever is going on in here, the way we describe ourselves. When I say I am slim or I am whatever it is, healthy, then that gives a command to the subconscious to follow through. And talking about subconscious, actually, I wanted to ask you about that, because you talk about reprogramming your mind and using hypnotherapy. So do you want to expand on this for me?
Yes. So Paul McKenna, this book that I got from him called I Can Make You Thin, it came with a hypnosis CD in the back. And I literally just listened to it every single night as I was falling asleep. There was no excuses to not, because, you know, you're going to sleep anyway, so just plug it in. And what that does, I think we consciously know that we want to lose weight, and we consciously try to follow these standards for success, as I call them. But subconsciously, our habits and our behaviors, the things that we just naturally revert to, they're stored within the subconscious. So the hypnotherapy, what that did, it helped reprogram that subconscious so that actually it no longer required willpower to only eat when I was hungry. I was actually beginning just to do it naturally. And that's the power of hypnosis, to you know, go in and reprogram your beliefs. It's, you know, I always say, like, if you were living with somebody and they had a particular viewpoint and you were open to it and they repeated it every single day, you might then start to live and believe that as well and have those habits. And so hypnosis is simply pretty much that by listening every single night to hypnosis that reminded me I'm a naturally slim person, that I only eat when I'm hungry, I eat what I want, I eat slowly, and I stop when I'm full. You know, that really helps shape your subconscious. And importantly, I've always put the weight back on when I've been on a diet. And because you go on a diet, you lose weight, you fall off the wagon, you revert to your old habits, and the weight goes back on. But it stands to reason, if you change your habits, if you change what's going on in the subconscious, the weight doesn't go back on. And here I am still the size 8, and it's
amazing.
It's mad.
How long did it take you to lose that 86 kilograms?
I had a bit of I didn't have a straight journey. I did have a 4-stone blip in the middle to do with a health condition. So I started my weight loss journey in 2009, and I'd sort of like over a year, I'd lost the first 5 stone in 6 months. And then I sort of like kept that off. But then I mentioned before I'd got a condition called sphincter body dysfunction. And that's a very painful condition. And I was on high doses of opiates. But because my weight loss, it improved my condition, I no longer needed to be on opiates anymore. So I was able to detox. But unfortunately, the withdrawal and the detox interfered with my hormonal system. And so I put 4 stone on in 4 months, which was a really, really big deal. But once I got that sorted out, so I suppose, you know, you could say if you would put it in sizes, I went from a size 30 down to a size 12, then up to a size 16 to 18, and during that health blip. And then in 2015, when I got that sorted out, I then, over the course of a year, dropped from the size 16 to 18 down to the size 8 that I am now. So but the thing is, no weight loss story is ever straightforward. And I think
no story of success or anything, Janet, is straightforward, isn't it? People think it goes in a straight line. The ups and downs you have with anything in life, they are a given.
Absolutely. That's a really big thing. And I think sometimes people expect perfection on a weight loss journey. They want it to be perfect, and the moment that they're not, they allow doubt and this I can't do this to seep into their minds. And again, that's where the just keep going comes in. That's remembering naturally slim people do this too, and as a naturally slim person, you will you will have good days and bad.
Does Joseph remember that story when he told you?
Yeah, he does.
It's a popular topic.
Yeah, and even the little boy that said it, his mother still thinks it's like she's like, she's embarrassed, but at the same time, she knows I credit her son for being the catalyst. We all need something, don't we? Yes. And sometimes if the motivation doesn't come from within ourselves, because maybe we've got a low opinion of ourselves, we don't feel we're worth it. It's easy to put ourselves at the bottom of the pile of important things. But when it's your child, and I think I often say to people that I'm helping, find that thing. What difference will your weight loss make to others? If you can't find it for yourself, what pains and pleasures do you experience? But what pleasures or pains do other people experience? And sometimes we just need to find that motivation from elsewhere sometimes is the key.
You reminded me of a story with there was a guy who was a heavy smoker, and he would never consider quitting. And one day his little girl came into his study, and he was smoking, and he went with teary eyes and said, "Dad, I don't want you to die." And that was the moment that he stopped smoking forever because of that. So we do much more for others than what we would do for ourselves. Janet, do you want to speak to me about your 12-week success program, what you do to help other people with their weight loss journey?
Yes, so on Successful Slimming, we do a 12-week success program, which is essentially a guided program over a 12-week period. And that's where we don't just talk about these, 5 standards for success that I've mentioned, but actually all the tips, the tricks, the techniques that actually in the real world that maybe a normal book or a diet can't give you, that's only you can get from somebody that's actually trodden that journey themselves. Yes. And so there are certain things that I discovered to do, like the MasterChef technique as an example, where I impart that information to others. And so the 12-week success program is made up of every week you get new videos, new content, downloads. But it's also about, we have a level of membership where people get to be coached by me personally. And I really think the power of being able to speak to somebody that truly understands, that also didn't find it easy, that really struggled, but found the way through. And, I liken it to a maze. When you're inside the maze, you just don't know which turn to take, and it becomes, potentially a bit soul destroying. But I feel like I found my way out of the maze and I know the route, and I want people to join me. I want to say, no, come over here. There's a great party on the outside. Let me show you. And when you get to that dead end there, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to get round that bit, and you'll do it. And it's, and the great thing is this works. It's so powerful. It's so different, and it gives people a freedom from food that they don't normally experience with a diet. And so, yeah, the 12-week success program, it's guided, but you know, there's a lot of support from myself, and it's we get a lot of successful slimming.
And your enthusiasm showed right now with your description. You really went. It's amazing. That's fantastic. Thank you. Let me ask you some quick-fire questions as well, Janet. All right. So,
okay.
What does personal development mean to you?
What does personal development? It's about realizing and fulfilling your potential. We've all got great potential inside of us. I was always destined to be slim, and I just didn't know it. And personal development is the key that unlocks that, so that you can really see your potential and experience it.
Awesome. And knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time and meet the 18-year-old Janet, what's the one piece of advice you would give her?
That she wasn't anywhere near as bad as she thought. You know, so often I think we berate ourselves and we tell ourselves that we're, maybe in my, I used to have this persona. I was the fat ugly bird, as we used to say back then, and I used to see pictures of myself, and I was like a size 14 then. This was not bad, but at the time I thought it was terrible. And I think if I just realized that I wasn't as bad as I thought, and I actually just drew a line in the sand there and just said, stop making yourself feel bad, which is then made, spiraled. Yeah, I think a lot of destruction can happen from our own self-sabotage, by our own low opinion of ourselves. Definitely.
Indeed. And let's say you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change something in the world as it is today. What would you change?
Oh, good Lord. What, weight loss related or anything?
Anything at all. It's your magic wand.
Okay, my magic wand would be all to do with arguments and bickering on social media. So it would probably be to, while social media's got some great things to it, there might well be a part of me that would say if there was a button I could press or a wand that I could wave to stop everybody being so intolerant of another person's opinion, I would probably switch off that.
Yeah, maybe disable the comments at the posts or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's that's a very interesting phrase you said about being intolerant of other people's opinions, because we have to realize that sometimes looking at things from the other person's point of view, they are looking at our opinion, which is different.
A different opinion doesn't make somebody bad, and yet, you spend a few minutes on Twitter, for example, and I find it quite exhausting.
So, Janet, emerging from this conversation we had, if you were to give to the listener one actionable item, what would that be?
I think the most effective or the most important, I think, of the standards for success is, and the real reason I lost weight was not because I changed what I ate, because I probably didn't. It's about really slowing down your eating, really enjoying your food, so that you can hear your fullness signal and stop when you're full. If there's just one thing that you do and you don't change anything else, that would be the thing that will get you success. Because if you stop eating, if you leave, you don't worry about being a member of the Clean Plate Club and you actually leave food on your plate, you will lose weight. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the most important one, I think.
Fantastic. How can people connect with you and find out more about you, Janet? Where would you direct them?
So yeah, if they go to successful-slimming.com, we've got the website there, and I'm on. I've got a Facebook page, but just look for Janet Johnson, and you'll find me. But yeah, successful-slimming.com. You'll also find Successful Slimming on YouTube. I've got lots of videos on YouTube with lots of advice and ideas of individual things that people can do to help them on their weight loss journey. Just certain challenges that perhaps that I faced and I found a way around them. So, even if you're not following, the Successful Slimming program, but you are following another conventional diet, these are actually, all of these things are helpful for that as well. So yeah, Successful Slimming.
Thank you. Janet, is there anything that you were hoping I would ask you today and we completely missed it?
Oh, good Lord. No, I don't. Gosh, anything that no, let me think. I don't think so. I think we've covered it all.
You told me that in the past you shared your story and it was distorted or changed in a way. So this is certainly not going to happen. This is going to be exactly as we spoke. There's nothing going to be edited or changed. But I'm asking just in case there was something else. You never know, because I can ask the questions from my point of view and what I think interests the listener. But from your point of view, maybe there is something else. If not, then it means we did a very good job.
Well, as you'll have seen, I do rabbit on a bit. So I think I probably got everything in there. But I think that, I'm just trying to think in terms of my journey. It's all I can really come out of it and say is that life for me now has made it's so worth it. And I think that people, if they think about the pains of staying as they are and the pleasures that they'll gain from doing something about it, and feeling inspired and hopeful by the fact that there is another way, it doesn't need to be the same old slog that you've experienced in the past with diets and things like that, but actually that this way, it's not. Actually, do you know what? Sometimes I think this isn't a weight loss plan. It's actually just a mindset plan, with weight loss being a really happy consequence.
It's a way of living, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You're right.
It is. So, I would say it's 110% worth it. It's changed my life completely. And it would be to never give up, just keep going, as I always say.
Thank you very much, Janet. I hope that the listener has found it inspiring, especially people who have challenges with their weight. But apart from that, there were elements that are, I think, very useful to everyone. So I wish you all the best with your business and your life. Any last parting words?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe and review Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this podcast with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to gain access to exclusive content while supporting this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpad. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, or if you have any questions, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.